you should probably expect spoilers.
He's the Ute from Yamanose, and he's on the streets of the Brita looking for sailors. Who dat? It's Ryo Hazuki!
Ryo Hazuki, the protagonist from the Shenmue series, has remained in people's hearts for well over 15 years. Fans waited patiently for the story to continue after the series had stalled post Shenmue 2. And now, since we're living at a point in time where Shenmue 3 is finally becoming a real thing, I feel there'll be no better moment to speak about this guy. Oddly enough though, despite having such a large fan base, Shenmue has gone over a lot of people's heads, with a considerable amount of gamers having never played either of the first two games. If so, why? Why you not play the game, huh? As with all Who Dat episodes, I'm going to be treading around spoiler territory, so if you've not played Shenmue, then you might want to consider doing that first. It'll take you about 10 hours to complete both games, so you go do that before we start. I'll wait for you. Go on.
Nah, fuck it, I ain't waiting. Backstory!
I'll do my best to refrain from really going over the top with the spoilers, but for the backstory, here's the main dealio. Japan, 1986. It was a very odd day in which the snow turned to rain, though if Shenmue had been set in London, that wouldn't really be anything out of the ordinary. Ryo Hazuki returns home from school to find his father Iwao getting his ass beat down in the family dojo. Some guy named Landy is looking for a thing called the Dragon Mirror and is causing 7 chambers of hell for the Hazuki crew. Through some blackmail, involving Landy about to wax mad lyrical game changers onto Ryo's face, the uncooperating Daddy Hazuki suddenly finds it in his best interest to cooperate and tells Landy where the mirror is. Getting what he came for, Landy then kills Iwao anyway, because he's a badass gangster. Actually no, Landy was kinda sorta getting some revenge of his own, but we'll save that topic for another episode. Anyways, Iwao Hazuki gets murked, Ryo gets pissed, and now he wants revenge. This begins Ryo's journey of investigating his father's death, attempting to figure out what this dragon mirror thing is, searching for clues on Landy's whereabouts, and spending all his inheritance money buying toys from capsule machines. Because dude's got his priorities in order, obviously. Over the course of 2 games, Ryo's journey takes him through his hometown in Japan before heading overseas to China, which is where the game furiously, inconveniently left us hanging for over a bloody decade. Along the way he makes numerous friends, some of which I might briefly mention here, but I plan to do full episodes about later on down the line. A few of them are definitely worthy of our attention. Anyways, that's the backstory in the bag. Now let's get sweaty.
Visual design.
You'd be forgiven for forgetting Shenmue was set in the 1980s because there's a distinct lack of people wearing leg warmers and pastel coloured tracksuits up in here. But in fact this actually makes sense. The loud, wild outfits of the 80s were mostly a pop culture thing. For your average everyday person whose most thrilling moment of the day was deciding what drink they wanted from a vending machine, crazy clothes probably never entered their wardrobe. And this brings us to Ryo, whose outfit is actually a more accurate representation of the sign of the time. He wears a plain white t-shirt with no logos, no branding, no added colours or tones, just a plain white t-shirt. His jeans are normal standard jeans, no skinny fittings or baggy hip hop styles, just regular standard normal as hell blue jeans. The only item of clothing he wears which adds any unique personality to his attire is that brown leather jacket, complete with a few patches including the iconic tiger design on the back. This whole look says to me that Ryo portrays himself as your normal average guy who does everyday things like the rest of the guys in his town. but that jacket implies he's not to be taken lightly. Sort of like, look man, I may be polite, but if you move to me incorrectly, I'm shadow stepping your punk ass. And it happens in the games. There were plenty of people who misjudged Ryo based on his looks alone and thought the guy would be a pushover. Boy, were they wrong.
Then you've got his hairstyle. And I don't know any other way to look at it, but that's a mullet. He's got the short hair on the top with the longer hair coming down the back of the neck. Bruv, that's a mullet. And he's gelled it. It's a spiky mullet.
I've seen some haircuts in my time, fam. I watch anime. I like Tenshi Muyo. I've seen all sorts of crazy shit. Hell, I got a girlfriend whose webcomic contains some impossible out of this universe hairstyles. I done seen it all. But one thing I ain't ever seen is a spiky mullet. That guy defined a space in time with that hair. He's like the only one to ever bust it like that. And you know what? I really like it. I mean, I generally like the whole feel of Ryo's design overall because it's something familiar to me and it's simple yet effective for what he needs to portray. But seriously, I think his hairstyle is probably the best part about him. If I could, I'd wear my hair like that. But then everybody will call me a hipster for trying to revive the mullet, so I probably shouldn't. Before we wrap up this section, new info was released from director Ryo Hazuki about why Ryo wears that bandage sticker under his left eye. It turns out it's due to an injury he received during a martial arts tournament that allegedly took place just before Shenmue 1 started. So that's that answered. Shame though, I thought he was a fan of Nelly. Or maybe Nelly's a fan of Ryo Hazuki, innit? Yeah! Oh fuck it, let's move on, it's getting hot in here.
Personality.
Ryo has the personality of a nice guy hero. He speaks politely, he addresses people in a respectful manner, and he has shown to be very caring to not only just his friends, but even random strangers who are in need. There have been a few times where he's thrown himself in harm's way for the sake of somebody he doesn't even really know. But this nice guy mentality brings around a bit of a downside to him. While he's eager to help, he doesn't realize some people are taking him for a fool in the process. It seems while others are quick to judge a book by its cover towards him, he does the opposite with them and reserves judgment until he's learned more about the person. And yes, it's a nice way to approach people, but Ryo, you're hanging around the criminal underworld, my friend. This ain't Yamanose no more. You're walking around dark alleyways and at one point you end up in bloody Kowloon for crying out loud. Don't be trusting people so easily, man. You need to get a bit more streetwise. Ryo's incredibly strong-willed too. He'll take on any job, do any task, and always attempt to do it to the best of his abilities without complaint. But I suppose when you're on the pathway to something as heavy duty as revenge, then yeah, you kinda need to be equipped with an affirmative 10-4 attitude. Probably the biggest point of debate regarding Ryo's personality tends to be about the way he acts towards female characters who have fallen in love with him. And what I mean by that is he literally shuts up and offers absolutely no emotional response to them whenever they start opening up to him.
Seriously, this guy's got girl them falling all around his feet and he acting like he don't want to play a game of Lucky Hit, you know what I mean?
Nozomi, the school friend of Ryo who harbours extremely strong feelings for him, is always met with this dead-faced reaction. Ryo's not rude to her about it though. We have to remember that Ryo is a nice guy, but he does his best to find an exit or avoid the whole subject altogether. It's not like he's shy either, quite the contrary in fact. Ryo can handle being social and he does talk to female characters without any problems whatsoever, but the second the girl starts showing him some subtle signs, it's like Ryo's brain just goes, and no. But he does care deeply for Nozomi though, that's the thing. He worries about her a lot and tells her not to come to his workplace as it's not safe for her there, fearing she could get hurt. She even gets kidnapped at one point and Ryo goes to save her. But he only ever sees Nozomi as a friend, much to her disappointment. She cries on his shoulder one night, almost trying to spell it out in layman's terms that she loves him, and Ryo's emotions are equivalent to that of the park bench they're sitting on. He doesn't even hug her, he does nothing! In his private diary entry the following day, he writes about Nozomi crying but he couldn't comfort her. Well done, Ryo-san. I would have just concluded that Ryo has no attraction to women or relationships in general, had it not been for one tiny little scene, with one particular female character in it. Shuing, the Kung Fu master from the Manmo Temple in Hong Kong. Despite showing that she cares for Ryo's well-being, she is very cold, very stern, and she shows no affection towards him at all. She trains Ryo and teaches him some new martial arts, warning him of the dangerous road that revenge usually leads to, and she became such an incredible mentor to Ryo for the short time he was in China, gaining his utmost respect. And then, right there, at a very brief moment in the game, one tiny 10-second scene cemented it all for me. While sharing her bedroom with Ryo so that he may have a place to sleep, Ryo finds himself gazing over at a sleeping Shuing from the other side of the room before he has to steal his eyes away from her when he thinks she's waking up. He looks back again, rolls over, and goes to sleep. Rotted. I don't know about you, but to me, that scene right there showed a female character had finally gotten underneath Ryo's unbreakable defense. But why her? She showed him no admiration or affection. She remained incredibly hard-lined throughout their entire time together, so why would Shuing be someone that suddenly gains Ryo's attention? Because she's strong-willed, a martial arts master, a person far superior to Ryo in every possible way. She taught him new things that he had never seen nor experienced before. This was unlike any woman he had ever met. His level of respect for her unlocked an emotion within him, and for a very brief moment while they lay there in her bedroom, Ryo couldn't help but glance over at her with curious eyes. And if I have to be honest, I think that might be what makes Ryo tick. With all the other girls, he knows what they're about and he knows where he stands with them. But the second he meets Shuing, he is thrown out of his comfort zone, his whole world and everything he knows is flipped on its head, and it intrigues him, even if just for a little while. I know it's not a popular theory to have. I'm not even saying Shuing and Ryo should ever get together or anything like that. All I'm saying is, throughout the series so far, no matter how brief it might have been, he has not shown any other female character that kinda look aside from Shuing. And even then, he had to do it while she was asleep, probably feeling like he wouldn't dare look at her in such a way when she's awake, knowing she'd see right through his bullshit. Maybe Ryo's a sub kinda guy. Into a little teacher-student roleplay setup, are you there, Ryo, you dirty little bastard? But hey, that's just a theory. A lame theory. Thanks for watching. I didn't just rip off Matt Pat from Game Theory, you're mistaken. Importance. Being the lead character of Shenmue, Ryo Hazuki is obviously the most important person in the series. With no Ryo Hazuki there is no story to follow, quite frankly. Destiny plays a very important role to the Shenmue story, and so Destiny wraps itself around Ryo every step of the way. According to Shenhua, Ryo's journey had been predetermined since ancient times, so whatever way you look at it, the story of Shenmue has Ryo at the front and center, right through the plot and narrative. Nobody else could take this role apart from him.
Aside from Fukusan, who we all know is the real hero of the Shenmue series, right? I'm right? Of course I'm right. Imagine at the end of Shenmue 3 at a plot twist somewhere, Ryo Hazuki gets killed, and it's up to Fukusan to avenge his death, huh? Sorry, that's not even worth joking about.
I do sometimes wonder what Shenmue would have been like if the main protagonist had been kept as Akira Yuki from the Virtua Fighter series. For those that don't know, Shenmue went through a bunch of different design changes until they finally settled on Ryo Hazuki. One such design idea was to take the characters from the fighting game Virtua Fighter and place them in this open world environment with Virtua Fighter's main poster boy Akira as the lead character instead. Even Ryo's design is heavily based off of Akira's, the most obvious one being Akira seen in his recreational outfit of the white t-shirt and jeans combo. I wouldn't change it though, not really. Shenmue is Shenmue because we experience it entirely through the eyes of Ryo. To take Ryo out would butcher this brilliant gaming experience entirely. Conclusion. Ryo Hazuki has a long way to go before we see where his journey ultimately takes him, but so far he's been a great character to walk around with. Aside from a few frustrating moments regarding his awkward response to female companionship, Ryo has a nice personality that is easy to befriend and you really want to see him do well. While Shenmue is a typical revenge story, I feel there's more going on with it than just mere vengeance, and that maybe the revenge arc is just a catalyst to a bigger series of events waiting to be uncovered from Shenmue 3 onwards. Ryo Hazuki has the potential to travel far beyond the boundaries of a basic tale of revenge and show us something more, something deeper than what we've seen so far.
It's so great to have the Shenmue series back again, and I want to thank you, Suzuki, for putting it on Kickstarter and letting us fans help fund it. If all goes according to plan, by the end of 2017, we're going to be continuing Ryo Hazuki's journey, and I personally can't wait to see where it's going to go from here. So, let's continue what we started, everybody. Cheers.